Oh, I'll die. My Lord, my Lord, my Lord. Walk away. I wanna hide. I wanna hide. I wanna hide. Lord, keep me under your blood. Oh, keep me under your blood, Jesus. I want to be totally lost in you. Lord, wash me, Jesus, wash me, Lord. Blessed rock of ages. I wanna hide, I wanna hide, I wanna hide. Hide me, Jesus, while I draw this fleeting breath. When mine eye lid close in death, when I saw to worlds unknown, see beyond thy judgment throne, rock of ages, just clear for me. Let me hide myself in thee. for joy unending. Oh, Savior, oh, Redeemer, has given new life to man. Oh, Savior, oh, Redeemer, has given new life to man. Oh, Savior, oh, Redeemer, has given new life to man. Oh, Savior, oh, Redeemer, has given new life to of time keep turning. There's a new day that's dawning, yet my heart is sad, for I am nearing home. Here in the midst of tribulation, yes, my soul, seek your direction. Give me strength, dear Lord, to face another day. Strength when the days are dreary. Strength when I'm cold and weary. Lord, give me strength that I can pray. And when I'm tossed and tempted, and your will is just not my will, give me strength, dear Lord, to face another day. The burdens are so heavy, needless pain I often carry, even though your words said cast them all on you. But in these weak and feeble moments, yes, your love brings such contentment. Give me strength, dear Lord, to face another day. Strength when the days are dreary. Strength when I'm cold and weary. Lord, give me strength that I can pray. And when I'm tossed and tempted, and your will is just not my will, give me strength, dear Lord, to face another day.
Good afternoon to everyone. I was expecting to see a lot more, and more is coming. I just saw a gentleman just pull up, but we're moving ahead. Let me introduce myself first of all. My name is Ronaldo Bess. I do live in Estate, Campo Rico. I was at All Hazard Expo in UVI and May 24th, and that was on a Sunday. And I saw the amount of information being given at that site as far as hazard goes. I saw Vitima, I saw the fire department, I saw American Red Cross, and there was some other organization talking to our community on a whole in St. Christ about disaster, about hazard, and sure of preparedness for these things. So I thought it was very enriching to bring it to my community, which is Campo Rico, and I went out door to door giving flyers. However, I also partner with Pastor John Gilbert. That's why we're in the house of God right now to present this information to you. He sent out the same flyers that I was giving to my community to several churches because these are pertinent information for us. We're in a hurricane season right now that started in June 1st. So I felt that we need to hear this information. It might be old, it might be stale, but it might be usable to each and every one of us. So I decided to go ahead with the diligence to speak and to reach out to Vitima and also American Red Cross. I did reach out to some other organizations and agencies of our local government. However, it was based to probably time, they was not able to make it. But we do have two great group here. Our local Vitima, and we also have our local American Red Cross to share that pertinent information to yourself. Okay? So I'm here to listen as well, but to also share information. Lastly, when they are finished, I do represent a group named Amateur Radio Club. I'm an amateur radio operator on the island of St. Christ to this chapter here, because we do have it in St. Thomas, St. John, Puerto Rico, and around the world. I'm actually the president of the St. Christ Amateur Radio Club, and I do have a lot of information based on communication, but in the emergency communication side of it. So I'm willing to share that information to you and see if it's valuable to you and to others in your family. But no further ado, I do have Deputy Director of Planning and Preparedness here to share that information to you, which is Miss Regina Brown. So she'll be the first presenter, and we'll turn it over to American Red Cross. Let's give her a round of applause for just making it to bring.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is, as he said, my name is Regina Brown. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning and Preparedness at Vitima. So I'll give you a brief overview of who we are, and then we're going to present collaboratively with Director Joshin and Ms. Lily Alvarez from the Red Cross. Vitima stands for the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency. As you can see on the screen, Director Joshin is the Director of Vitima. We're the agency that's responsible for coordination. And our primary mission is to save lives and protect the territory's population. So that's everything that we do for natural and man-made hazards. These are the complete senior leadership at Vitima who are stationed logistically on different islands just to ensure we always have continuity of operations. We have planning and preparedness, operations, logistics, grants management, admin and finance, HR, fusion center, public assistance, and hazard mitigation. Next slide. Sorry. Okay, so the division that I'm over, we kind of develop and exercise the Territorial Emergency Operations Plan. We conduct presentations in the community like this one, and we do exercises and trainings. So if any of you have any businesses, organizations, schools that you would like us to come up to and observe a drill or help you with your plans, let us know. We'll be more than happy to attend and assist. Next slide. And then before going into hurricanes, I'll let Director Joshin speak briefly on hurricanes, and then I'll speak as well.
Thank you, Deputy Director Brown. And again, my name is Daryl Josh, and we are in the Caribbean, right? Okay, and Ronaldo already mentioned the 1st of June. We know we have 6 months with no hurricane season, and now we're in hurricane season. So we're going to talk about hurricanes a little bit, and we'll talk about all hazards with Regina. But I have 2 goals for us today. The first goal is you walk away today with a little more information than you knew before. Something new you learned today. So we're all going to learn today. Second thing is what I call a call to action. So when you leave here, you don't go back and have dinner and, okay, that's a nice thing. But for hurricanes, we have to engage and prepare ourselves, our families, our homes, our community, and if you're in a business, your businesses. Those 5 things we have to be prepared for. Now, anybody here remember Irma and Maria? Yeah, especially if you're in Frederiksted on top of the hill here, you definitely remember Maria. Tough time. Now, this is now 6 years later, right? And when I talk about hurricanes and individuals who went through hurricanes, Irma, Maria, they don't want to talk about them. And I can tell you, I understand, it's post-traumatic stress. It's a very stressful environment. We all went through it. But we need to talk about it. We need to prepare for it. We need to think through mentally, physically, emotionally. Again, we're leaders in the community. We're leaders in our family, leaders in our businesses. It doesn't take much, but if you don't talk about it, you don't keep it afar. You know, individuals, I've talked to them, I don't prepare. What do you mean you don't prepare? We have to prepare. That's a responsibility we have. So I'll talk about 2 words. One is called supply chain, and we heard that term back in the COVID era. And what that means is 98% of the goods that come to the territory come from outside the territory, right? Usually from Puerto Rico or from Florida. Or way over in China and make their way here after months and months and months. So I actually just happened to be down at Kmart West, walked in there, going out of business. It looked like hurricane had just come in. I mean, the shelves are down. You walk in here like, oh, hurricane what? So again, you start thinking about that, what happened, what's going on. So hurricane preparation, we have to start thinking about that. So supply chain happens, if you look at a normal year, June, July, August, we hit the height of hurricane season, the 15th of August in the Caribbean, and it usually goes to 15 October. So that time frame, those 60 days are the height of hurricane season. And most likely, all the tropical waves come on Africa will come every 2 days, and each one of those has the potential to turn into something, Hurricane X, Tropical Storm Y, can make way here. VITEMA works very closely with the National Weather Service in Puerto Rico. The hurricane hunters, as most of you know, actually are stationed out of St. Croix. We'll go out and check the weather conditions. They drop down these isodromes. I had the hurricane hunters here last year working with the American Legion and the junior ROTC to get to know what a hurricane hunter is. And maybe some of the young youth that's in school today will come up and someday become our next hurricane hunters. There are actually meteorologists on those planes that indicate where they should be going and flying. So they actually indicate where those planes should fly. And they go up for about 6 hours at a time, and the next one goes up. So they don't just go up there, look at it, and come back. They go up and they fly around. That information gives us a 20% more accuracy of the prediction and the modeling than modeling gives us. So that's information we know is going to happen. So supply chain is the number one thing to talk about, and understanding that the shelves will start coming down in September like they are in Kmart right now. But you have to plan and prepare regardless of whether the hurricane is going to hit St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, or anywhere else in the Caribbean. You have to be prepared because those ships will not come down to us because there are too many hurricanes running around in the Atlantic. In the Caribbean, they're going to say, no, I'm not going to come down. So you have your destiny in your hand about how you prepare yourself, your family, your home, your business, your community for this. And we can help you with the checklist, but most of us who went through this in the past have our own checklist and things we did well, things we need to improve upon. My recommendation to you is be prepared for a minimum of 5 days to be on your own. So if you go to the store every day right now, act as if you can't go to the store for a minimum of 5 days. Have the commodities, the food, the toilet paper, the shower products, kitty cat litter, food for your pets. Have that together for a minimum of 5 days, maybe longer, because it's going to take that long for VITEMA to assess, get Water Power Authority out, to get VIPD out there, to get DPW out there to clear the area. Remember, all the debris is going to come down. And it's going to take a while for to get the roads clear. So a minimum of 5 days plus, most likely the stores will not open. Why will the stores not open? Because of what? Well, they have the supplies, but most likely they don't have credit card machines going. So they can't use snap cards, D-snap cards unavailable. So that's why you got to have some cash in your pocket. If they do open, they'll be cash only. Until we can get, the other piece of the words is, until we get the infrastructure going. Infrastructure refers to airports, seaports, telecommunications, power utilities, hospitals, those key things that we have to get VIPD. VITEMA actually is responsible for 911. So VIPD, EMS, fire, we work and dispatch those. Those cannot go down. We have radio communication out. You have to communicate that way. So that's why you have to maintain that within the government of the Virgin Islands. So minimum of 5 days to be prepared to be on your own until we can get through. Other things, if you happen to have a generator, because most likely WAPA will go out. Most likely. Then you have to figure out, you want to isolate yourself off the grid so you're not going to backfeed a generator, but make sure you know how to operate a generator and do it safely, and then you don't store it too close inside where those fumes can cause carbon monoxide and kill you. More people are killed, unfortunately, from generators, from carbon monoxide poisoning after a hurricane than actually during a hurricane. Because they don't know, they don't understand. So those are some safety tips. All right, so I'm going to ask you, as a group, 5 reasons, and there's no right or wrong answer, why you should prepare during the month of June as opposed to waiting until September. What's the number one reason, do you think? Anybody? So, and prepare early. Excellent. Second, prepare early. Second thing. Anybody? Second reason why to prepare in the month of June. What do you think? Why not wait till September? It's going to be too late then. Okay. Yes. If you're not ready now, come September, you're going to have even more problems. Yeah. Excellent. Water, food. Canned food? Yeah, excellent. You've been through a couple hurricanes, I can tell. Okay. Right. Yes, sir. Exactly. Avoid the rush. Who wants to be down at Plaza, at Kmart, and gas station with everybody else? Exactly. Nothing on the shelf. So you know. So I use the word anxiety, and the anxiety builds. The more I talk about the approaching storm, 72 hours out, you're like, no big deal. Then all of a sudden I say, you are under a tropical storm watch. That means 48 hours from now, tropical storm force winds will be approaching the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's 39 miles an hour or higher. Then, when I say a hurricane warning, that means 36 hours from now, a hurricane is going to come within the confines of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Those are time frames, and anxiety is going to go up. If you have prepared, if you thought that through, then you have some minor things to do, but you don't have to go through that whole list. The other piece I would say, economically, if you have to go out and do it all at one time in September to prepare, it's a lot of money if you want to say for 5 days. So that's why we say start in June and get your list and look at it every payday and get a little bit. And it's amazing how much you can't get, this time of year. The shelves are good right now, so you can go out shelves. So get your checklist, whatever you like, get it, but a little bit at a time, and store that up. And after November 30th, you can have a big party if you want to. So those are some tips. Again, start thinking now. The call to action is in the month of June. Start preparing, looking at the Vitima website. You can go vitima.vi.gov. We have checklists there. Ready.gov, checklists also. So whatever you want specific to you. One individual I went through, and they said the number one thing that she wanted in her kit was a Bible. A Bible in her kit. Because that gave her peace of mind, her heart. That was her number one thing she wanted. Yes, ma'am. And have some cash. Yeah. Very, very good. Have some cash is so important. Okay. So everybody here has some great things to talk about. All right, I'm going to mention something, and then I'm going to turn over to Regina. Alert VI. Have you heard that term before? Alert VI. What that is, that's a messaging system that I can send you a message to your phone, text-wise, I can call you voice-wise, or I can email you and tell you an emergency information. You have to sign up for that. There's no cost. It's a subscription, but you have to go to the Vitima website and sign up for it. I don't know if we brought any sign-up sheets here. We did. But if you did not sign, if you want more information, see Regina or afterwards, we will help sign you up for that. Right now, you get lots of earthquake warnings from me, or from Vitima, which is a 4.1 or higher. Earthquakes are a concern also, and a potential tsunami after earthquake, but I won't go into details now. But those hurricane watches, those warnings, those come out from Vitima. We'll send them out with National Weather Service. Also, if you can open up shelters, we'll put announcements out that way. If curfew goes in place, we'll put announcements out through the alert messaging system. Also, I go on the radio quite a bit, and we talk on the radio, which is important. But the number one way you can get message information from us, is through the Alert BI system. All right. So you guys have been very attentive, and thank you for the comments and discussions. But we're all in this together. Remember that. This is together. No matter whether you're in St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, St. Vincent, St. Grenadines, Grenada, it's all going to be a hurricane season for us to be prepared together. Remember, self, family, home, community, business. All right. Any questions for me before I turn over back to Deputy Director Brown? Yes, she will.
Thank you, Director Joshin. So what you can see on the screen up there is kind of what Director Joshin did mention, and all the items that you should have in your disaster kit. We don't expect you to have everything on there. Do like he said, find the things that are most important to you. Make sure if you have your medications that you go to your pharmacies and you get them, because you can get additional month's supply when a storm is about to make landfall. So just make sure you're prepared and you have those plans in place. If it's insulin, it needs to be refrigerated. Just make sure you have those plans and you're prepared. Emergency cash. We have some NOAA radios later that we're gonna be asking you guys questions. We have 8 to give away, and whoever answers the question can get a radio. Director Josh will explain how to use the radio, but that's gonna be after the presentation. Next slide. So now we'll go into what is an earthquake. So earthquakes have been happening a lot more in the Caribbean area, more than they used to happen probably in the past, or more than people notice now. In 2020, Puerto Rico had a really significant earthquake. And after speaking to the Puerto Rico Seismic Network, we found out that there was actually a micro tsunami that actually occurred from that earthquake. Not a big one, but just a micro one. But it's just to show you how things happen. And earthquakes happen all the time, but just not to that magnitude to send out an alert VI message. And this past April, me, Director Joshin, and Ms. Rivera attended the Seismologist Society of American Puerto Rico and learned that those Richter scales that you are used to, how they actually tell you how big an earthquake is, they're actually taking it a bit further. They're going to be doing it by the magnitude intensity and peak ground acceleration. So we actually know. So for those who have Alert VI, do you get 2 earthquake messages when an earthquake actually happens? You get the first one, about 10 minutes later, you get the second one? Yes. The second one is the true magnitude of the earthquake. It takes about 6 to 10 minutes for that data to be analyzed. The first one is a projection of what the magnitude was. The second one is actually how strong the earthquake was. And like Director Josh, and please acknowledge receipt of those messages. I know sometimes people get them and you just read it and close it, but you should actually acknowledge receipt so our system can see the amount of the population that we were able to target. So earthquakes are no-notice events. They actually are ones that we cannot track. We do not know if they're coming. So these are the ones that people tend to have a lot of anxiety about. Earthquakes can be triggered from landslides. They can trigger landslides, and they can also come from tsunamis. But I want people to understand that tsunamis are not only triggered by earthquakes. It can be triggered by a volcanic eruption. And for those who participated in Carib Wave 2023, which I hope you guys did, the scenario was Mount Pelée in Martinique, was a flank fell into the ocean and then triggered an earthquake, which would have been coming from the south side, right? I'm saying the south side of the island. So that's just something we want you to understand. Not every time a tsunami warning or advisory comes out, it's based on an earthquake. But if an earthquake does occur, next slide, we want you to drop, cover, and hold on. The reason we say to drop, cover, and hold on, if you're in school or under your desk, hold on. Because if the desk is moving and you're just under the desk, it means something can possibly hit your head and you can be knocked unconscious and be stuck. So please find a place that's secure. Come up with a plan to make sure that you're practicing every day. Include your families, include the children. Just make it very interactive. Know that an earthquake usually has aftershocks. And the aftershocks can actually be stronger than the initial quake. So you need to try to evacuate as safely as possible to maybe an open field. Someplace else that might not be compromised. Just to be safe on the most side. Next slide. These are the earthquake signage or magnets that we have outside that we'll be giving to you. The one in the middle is actually a magnet that I have outside that I will give to everyone so you can put on your fridge. And then just different tips on how you can respond to an earthquake. We had a jingle to let you hear, but I don't. Yes, you can. Can you click the speaker? I can see it up on this one. It's like right below the magnet. You hover over it, kind of, and then it plays. That's okay. I'll make sure you get a copy of the jingles. But basically, Mike Love, an artist from St. Thomas, created some jingles for us because we put the tips into a jingle, and children are now singing the song. So because they're singing their song, they're doing muscle memory and knowing the facts for earthquakes and tsunamis. So it's calypso based. We got Pat Reggae. I always say her name wrong. The Express Band? Okay, the lead singer, I think she's for Express Band. She also did us a one that's more tailored to the older generation because we wanted to make sure we had a fast-paced one for the children who like calypso. Then we had one for older people who would like to listen as well, just to make sure that we have those on the radio. So you've probably heard them before. Next slide. So the next big topic are tsunamis. Tsunamis are also no-notice events. Vaitima last year, around the month of November, had tsunami walks in communities across the territory. We actually did one right here in Frederiksted, from the bandstand all the way to Claudio Marco. And we actually had a conversation there and explained to you that would be the safe place for people who live in Frederiksted town to get to. Because to be safe for a tsunami, you have to be 82 feet above sea level or 2 miles inland. And you have to be able to practice that plan and get to that safe place in less than 10 minutes, depending on the type of tsunami it is. Next slide. What to do before a tsunami occurs, practice your plan. That's the most critical thing we can actually tell you to do. Every year, Vaitima exercises our tsunami and earthquake plans for the Great Shakeout as in October and Carib Wave in March. And that's when we test our capabilities. Vaitima is located in town. Does everybody know where Vaitima is in Christiansted Town? Christiansted Town. Yes, the brown building. I think it used to be a doctor's office and a pharmacy or something. It's a 3-story building in town on the corner behind the market. Salvador is the barber shop. Next to it is it's not too far from that place. Huh? Yes, you're right, a blue building, right? Yes. So where we are, we actually go up to the bypass. Straight up that road, and we continue to go. We usually have participation from the tax assessor's office, VINGN, and government house. Go ahead. Hmm? Mhm. For you, I want to say the highest point. Get as far inland as you can. Inland. Away from the ocean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So on the side we go Hope Town houses on the side. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the screen, you'll see our tsunami maps, which are on our website as well. I do not have copies of that today because we have no data that we have to produce new maps. Because the inundation zone, which is that yellow area around the islands, is how far the water will come in. So we have this on our Vitima website, and I'll bring some as soon as I get them printed. But find out if you live anywhere in those areas. The St. Croix one is on your top left. And if you do live in that zone, you need to practice that plan and how to get safely or participate in the community walks when Vitima comes out and actually shows you how to get to those specific areas. Because we try to explain, we we make sure it's safe. We have VI Fire Service and VI PD making sure they do barriers to make sure the cars know, to not come before, and we always have EMS, just in case anybody gets any health conditions or health concerns. So we started in Frederiksted, now we're coming back up. The next community is actually your community, Women Campo Rico, because we're going to the communities that are actually, we know are in the tsunami zone and there's a threat. So we're going to be working, so I'll let you know when that's happening. I will make sure to participate, and we do a presentation after as well. We usually go on the radio stations. We post them on our social media pages. And then Director Jocelyn is usually on Analyze This with Neville James on different radio stations, Rashidi Clemens, The Vibe. We try to get on all of them the week leading up to it to let you guys know it's coming. And our partners like Red Cross, FEMA, other GVI partners will share it as well. Okay. Of course, we definitely can do that. You're welcome. Okay, no problem. Next slide. So this was the last major earthquake and tsunami that occurred in the Virgin Islands, the 1867 earthquake in Aragata Tro, which actually created this. As you can see on the slide where the boat is in the ocean, the first wave hit just 6 minutes after the earthquake. So that's why we try to say to make sure you understand and exercise your plan. There are 3 types of tsunamis: a local, a regional, and a distant. A local can occur in less than 10 minutes. Go ahead. Like assembly points? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Off guard, because no notice. We have signs that are up, but we do know that after Irma Maria, a lot of the signs got knocked down. Because there were actually signs that say you're entering the tsunami zone, you're leaving the tsunami zone, and then like an assembly point or safe place, or what does the sign say, that last sign? I think. Yeah. Now we know that you might not be at home when it happens, and that's why we're urging the community with a different approach. When we have these different community walks and tsunami walks, come to as many as you can. Because it's going to show you where we would say if you're in Campo Rico, or if you're in Frederiksted, or you're in Christiansted. We are doing a tsunami plan right now that's actually going to help us put back up all the tsunami signs. So that's going to be more designated to let you know where the safe place is. Huh? Some are up, not all are up. Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and that's the scariest part about tsunamis and earthquakes, because there's no notice. So these are the two hazards that actually give a lot of community members a lot of anxiety, nervousness, and fear. So that's what we're trying to get in front, because the Virgin Islands community has become very prepared for hurricanes. You guys know what to do, you have enough time, and you have everything that you need to know. So for these, we're trying to tell you to just practice your plan, and if you work in two different places, know where your safe zone is at work, know where your safe zone is at church, know where your safe zone is at your grandmother's house. You know, just have a different places where you know that you mostly are at, you would know how to get there. And please do not drive in your cars if something happens, because that can cause accidents, that can delay you. Yes, but there's an app called My Elevation that we download on our cell phones, and it actually tells you how far above sea level you are. So if you go use that at your house, you could determine how far you are, or if you're more than 2 miles inland, you're in the safe place. And when you go and watch the maps that I showed you a little while ago, if you're not in that yellow area, you are in a safe zone. And we know the sirens are up. We got them, most are operational, but some people think because the siren is not by their house that it's a gap. The sirens are in the compromised areas of the island. We know there are gaps as well, and we'll be installing more. But you can only hear the siren for about 3 blocks away. And there's one right Lagoon, right by the market here, and one by Lagoon, where the legislature used to be. Yeah, it will alert, but we don't want you to wait for the siren to go off to evacuate, because sometimes it takes about 6 or 7 minutes for the data to be analyzed by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it is. And for that earthquake that happened, and I'll turn to the director, we did feel effects of that in Puerto Rico, because it caused 3 feet waves from that event.
Okay, the local tsunamis we're talking about are predicated with an earthquake. And it's not one of those ones that is like, oh, what was that? No. Church steeples fell off of churches in 1867. All the pictures on the walls fall down. You cannot stand up. That is an earthquake. If you feel that and it lasts for 30 seconds to a minute, don't wait for a siren. Don't wait for an alert. Anticipate within 10 minutes a tsunami will be hitting St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island. That's the easiest way. The other way is if you're down on the beach, and we know our tides here are about a foot. All of a sudden, the water goes out 10, 15 feet and stays out. Don't go picking the fish up. That is an indication a tsunami is coming. Okay, so Mother Nature will let you know. And again, great experience in Tonga from lessons learned. We unfortunately learn those lessons sometimes the hard way after the fact. But for us, for the local tsunami with that 10-minute clock, that's what you're going to feel. You're going to feel a tremor, earthquake. You're not going to turn to somebody and go, Regina, was that an earthquake? No, you will be picking yourself up off the ground. All the car alarms will have gone off. And you should then be knowing where you're going to head up and inland to get up to that safe spot. So that's the easiest part. The regional ones, the ones that we talked about, Pele, and we talked about even next year we're going to work on the trench in Puerto Rico. We'll have some time. And some time, maybe 30 minutes, and maybe a little bit more. But then we have to figure out when do we do the announcements for that. So the local ones are the easy ones because you will have no doubt in your mind you just went through a very critical, important earthquake. The regional ones and longer ones farther away, it's longer time. And the question is it a little baby one, or is it still going to be like the one from Japan that happened in 2011? It took 2 weeks to get to California, and it was down in the bay, had some water come through, but it wasn't huge. Okay, so there's a couple of things. So Regina,
you wanted to say something, Mr. Best?
Yes, certainly. Currently, Vitima is conducting some tsunami siren exercises on a monthly basis, and I have signed up to be one of them that gives feedback when they do these exercises. Of course, I'm living in Campo Rico, so my siren will be located on Melvin Evan Highway by Willem Delight. That would be my point of listening to that siren and giving feedback as whether if I hear it loud and clear, whether if it's weak, whether there's several components as far as listening to it and giving feedback. I don't know all the logistics right now because I don't have the paper in front of me, but it has been working. I had one time I was actually into some work with electrical wires and some tiny wires trying to solder it, and I totally forget about the exercise, but because of how loud the siren is, it startled me, and I had to catch myself and find out what it is. And then I recall now, of course I get up and I went outside and see what's going on, but that put me into a gear that wasn't right. So I realized, yes, it's an exercise, but to prepare me for anything that is about to happen. Okay? And I think you guys do it every
third Thursday of the month.
Every third Thursday of the month.
11 o'clock, and it's a 60-second toll.
Yeah. St. Thomas is 11:15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to be an observer or anything, let us know, and you could email me or Director Josh, and I will be sure to sign you up. But it's every Thursday, third Thursday. Mm-hmm. So don't be alarmed. We're just testing it to make sure that the system is fully operational, and we'll continue to test them, and we would like the community to assist us in observing them. If you have a business or anything that's close to a siren, you just get a form, like Mr. Best said. You let us know if you're either upwind or downwind. Those are the type of questions. It's not too difficult. And we take that feedback back, and we have a tsunami working group that meets every Wednesday. And we take all of the gaps or, things that are not working fully, and we always report that back. Director Joshua speaks to our Deputy Director of Logistics and Operations, and we always try to mitigate and make all of the errors better. So if you want to participate, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to give you that information. Next slide. This is basically a table that we created with Professor Watlington, who is the tsunami subject matter expert in St. Thomas. He taught at UVI for many years, sorry. And he's the expert that kind of helps me with everything. And what he was saying is when it was under the Danish West Indies, he was just comparing the population now with what happened when the earthquake did happen and the vulnerability with what could happen. So one thing that he did mention that is a very extreme vulnerability, especially in the St. Thomas district and St. Croix, Frederiksted, is cruise ships. If it happens during any time where there may be 2 or 3 cruise ships, that's an additional maybe 8 to 10,000 people on the island who would need to be evacuated safely to a higher ground or inland. So that was why he did it, and that's what the comparison is. And I will definitely share that with you guys to Pastor Gilbert so he can have that information as well. Next slide. This is the buoy system that's in the ocean, so we always kind of put a slide to talk about it because we know that many people hear the buoy system being asked about, but it stands for the Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of the Tsunami. So it's in short, the DART. So that's just the triangulation of how it works and how it gets the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, and that's the alert that usually happens when you get that alert for an earthquake or different earthquakes. And the reason it comes from them is actually for continuity of operations. Because God forbid it happens here and it's a very hard earthquake and comms are down, this is gonna make sure that this always happens. And this year at different meetings, we found out that the backup system for this is actually gonna be towards up by Canada area in the United States, which shouldn't be affected, to make sure that we always have messages going out. And that, number 5 below there says it can take about 5 to 6 minutes. That's why Director Jocelyn let you know if the shaking is so significant, that can be the time frame before the alert comes to your devices. Because anything above a 6.5 takes them that time frame. But we're working very diligently with Puerto Rico Seismic Network that actually gives us all the updated information, and we're just incorporating more outreach with them. So at some point in a couple of months, Krista Von Hilbrand will be here. And she's like a very good person to have here because she's been in tsunamis for such a long time, and she's the deputy director of the International Tsunami Information Center. So when we do those public outreaches, we urge you to come to them because we're gonna have seismologists there as well. And they can provide some more information to you on all of the advances they're making, because they're even gonna use smart cables under the ocean to help with detecting seismic activity. So just to come out, and I'll make sure I give it to Pastor Gilbert, as you said, so that you guys will be aware and ask the experts those questions. Next slide. These are the tsunami signs that you will see around the island. Tsunami hazard zone, tsunami staging area, entering hazard zone and leaving. The facts on Ono tsunami and tsunami safety flyers are actually, I have the Ono tsunami for those of you who have children.
If you're on the beach and you hear a loud roar, or if you see the water receding away from the shore. If you're on the beach and you hear a loud roar, or if you see the water receding away from the shore, yes, that is nature warning you.
Okay. So that was one of the jingles. So you see, that was the tone of the jingles and how it sounds. Yes. And we'll be giving you tsunami facts outside. I have some whistles for you too that should be in your emergency kits. They actually have little compasses on it as well. We have magnets, we have outreach, and we have hurricane maps. And we are able to sign you up for Alert VI as well. Next slide. These are Vaitima's preparedness campaigns and programs that are actually going to occur annually. The upcoming next one would be National Preparedness Month, which is September. For the entire month, it's preparedness on all hazards. So that's not just hurricanes, that's not just earthquakes or tsunamis. That's all hazards to make sure we're always ready, because Vaitima has to be poised to respond to any type of hazard, natural or man-made. We had a contest last year that we're gonna try to bring back this year for the youth. We had an art flyer contest, a video contest, and an essay contest. And the winner of the essay contest actually got to be director for a day. So it was a senior at Frederiksted Baptist, and she actually made an HR policy, went to Government House, met with Administrator Sanis and Chief of Staff Carl Knight and the First Lady, and just got to gain a more understanding, and she addressed the staff. In St. Thomas, we had an assistant director for the day who mimicked that same process. So we urge, if you work at any schools or have children who would be interested, we'll make sure to disseminate that information, and they can come in and submit to win prizes. And they also won tickets to the movies, Jungle James Petting Zoo, run in Frederiksted Children's Museum and Coral World. Those were all the tickets that were donated by the sponsors without any cost. The children can be rewarded. Next thing will be the Great Shakeout, which is the earthquake drill. You can go forward, Adasai. You can go forward. Go ahead. And then go ahead one more time. The Great Shakeout is going to be October 19th. Although it says 2022, I did not fix the year, so my apologies. October 19, 2023 at 10:19 a.m. That's how they kind of do it to make sure it's easier for people to remember. So last year was 10/20/2022 at 10:20 a.m. At that point, you're supposed to practice your earthquake plans or responses or drills where you drop cover and hold on. Last year, we had about 16,000 people who participated, and we want to keep improving that number so we get most of the population. So we just ask when that happens, we'll send out an alert via message. We observe schools, but we want everyone to practice their plans, especially in that time frame. The pictures you can see on the screen is Governor Bryan evacuating and participating in the drill because usually it happens, ironically, on Emergency Management Council dates. So the entire cabinet participates and ensures that they practice as well. Next slide. And then we have USVI Tsunami Awareness Week, which is going to be the first week in November, and World Tsunami Day is November 5th. So that's going to be the week that we're going to be pushing a lot of tsunami preparation, presentation, walks, events, because that's the most important time that we need people to come out and practice. We don't have all the details yet, but this is a day, November 5th, where the entire world through United Nations celebrates tsunami awareness and education. Next slide. And then this is Caribe Wave 2023, which happened on March 16th. We exercised on March 16th, but March 23rd was the actual day. We had over 17,000 people who actually participated. On the picture on top, you'll see a mixture of BITIMA, BINGN, Government House, and different agencies who actually evacuated to the bypass. That's on a bypass right across the street. So at that time, we sent out alert VI messages. We test our iPod system, which is the one that kind of does bong bong to your phone, even if you don't have alert VI. And we just want you to practice your plans. The next one for next year is March 21st, 2024 at 11 a.m. It used to be at 10 a.m., but the Latin American countries said that they couldn't do it at 8 o'clock in the morning because they're 2 hours behind of us. So because of that, it would be easier for them to do it at 9 a.m. So that's why ours got pushed back to 11 a.m. The scenario for that, like Director Joshin mentioned, is going to be the Puerto Rico Trench. So that should be coming from that side. So you see how it's going to be on the north side now, so then you have to know what could be compromised, and we'll be sure to come out in the community and observe more schools or businesses if you let us know what time. Next slide. And this is the date for Hurricane Preparedness Week next year. It was actually the 1st to the 6th this year, but that week we usually try to make sure we hand out hurricane maps at all of the major locations so that people like to track. It has information on it. We do hurricane preparedness presentations to schools and businesses and organizations. So during that week, if you like anything, and if you even want to help us in any presentations as you like, you let us know, and we'll be more than happy to assist. And on that, our website, we have additional information. And this is a program that the whole community really loves. It's a community emergency response team, and it's something that we're starting to revamp and bring back because each of you can actually be a CERT member. And you learn disaster preparedness, first fire safety, light search and rescue, team organizations. You even touch on incident command structure, which is how BITIMA responds. This is for the community, and it has teen CERT, which can be from 13 to 17, and adult CERT. It's a class that you take over a weekend or a couple of weeks, and you kind of learn all of these things, and then when you graduate, you get a bag like this that has everything you would need to help us or support. The reason CERT is so important is that BITIMA cannot get to every community right after a major hurricane or major hazard. If you all are trained in CERT and have your own CERT team in Campo Rico, WIM, or anywhere, you can be the first one to assess what's going on. Then you become a part of our structure, so then you become the liaison to us, this CERT state coordinator, and let us know what's going on in that community. The reason we're starting it over, we created a plan, we have a dashboard, and we have applications. So we're going to take, if you want to apply, we'll find out what your strengths are. So if some of you are radio operators, if some are former nurses, if some are police officers or retired government officials, we'll know logistically where you're at, and we want to have CERT to be a part of us in everything we do, to help us in community presentations, to help us with sandbag distribution, sheltering, which Ms. Alvarez will touch on, just different things, because the government does not have the benchmark like what we need, and the community helping us will help us support, and CERT is completely free, and you just have to attend classes and trainings which are also free. Next slide. That's the email if you would like to join or become a member of CERT, and if not, I can give you my contact information and you contact me and I'll be sure to assist you. Next slide. Okay, these are I'll let Ms. Alvarez touch on the shelters and leave that on the screen for her. Yeah, you can skip that one and then I'll bring it back for her to talk about. It's your thing. This is Alert VI, the messaging system that Director Joshua did mention. You can sign up on our website, or I do have the forms outside, and we'll be more than happy to sign you up if you'd like to that way. Next slide. And these are our social media platforms. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So we have pages on all of those type of things, and we have videos and different things that come out. So most of the stuff is posted here, but we know that we have to go on the radios and newspapers as well, because not everybody's on social media. But those are the pages that we have currently. Next slide. Does anyone have any questions before Ms. Alvarez touches on shelters? Yes?
You have the alerts, you send out the alerts on our phone. I don't know how many seniors here have downloaded the app for the alert or to get the alert. But I never knew, like, okay, responding to it, that you guys are collecting data. I just read the information. I gather the information. Oh, I'm the only one, Sister Mitchell? You don't reply? Right, see? So I'm not the only one. I don't feel bad. So I think maybe all of us here probably don't respond to it. I read it, but I don't. So I mean, I didn't know that. That's my point. I didn't know that. So thanks for that.
No problem.
You know what I mean? So now we know that. Yeah.
And then something that we were doing with our partners in preparedness with Crowley's, O'Neill's, Home Depot, and Cost You Less. We were raffling generators during the fair. And we actually did it at Home Depot. I think we gave away about 6 generators so far. And the way to be entered into the contest is to show us proof of having an Alert BI message. So a lot of people delete our messages after they read it. So they had to actually re-sign up to actually get back into it. And we're going to be doing it again next year for the Ag Fair. So if you don't have Alert VI, or you have it, save the messages, because you win a 6,500 kW generator. And it's usually on St. Croix, but we'll try to get to St. Thomas and St. John as well. Yeah. You had a question, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So this alert message, I could recall getting the alert message. This override your regular phone system, right? And this comes to basically everybody.
The iPOS one that makes a noise, the integrated public awareness.
This one sent off the alarm.
Yeah, that's the other one.
So you were supposed to respond?
No, not to that one, to the Alert VI message.
Okay.
Text, email, or phone call.
Okay, because I can recall getting that message. But I didn't respond to anything I didn't know you was supposed to.
Yeah, on the IPAWS message, which stands for Integrated Public Alert Warning System, we have to use the FCC, has to give us the approval to do that. When that comes out, a lot of your smartphones, by default, aren't set up to receive those, they call them regional messages, wireless emergency messages. So make sure your smartphones are set up for that, so you can receive those messages. The other ones that we sent out, since you subscribe to it, you should get those either by email, text, or phone call, however you signed up for it. And you can do it in English or Spanish. So you have a little bit of choice in how you do that. If you go from here to Puerto Rico, and we send out an alert message, you'll get it. You go from here to Florida, you'll get it also. iPods will just stay within the region of the U.S. Virgin Islands with our cell towers. So, good question to ask, though. Thank you.
Are there any more questions before Ms. Alvarez touches on shelters and shelter preparation?
Where can you get that? All that information you're just giving us there.
Our website has most of it. Then if you want particular slides, I send them to whoever requests them as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, you could go back to the sheltering slide. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Where in Mount Pleasant? Like, what's it? Oh, wait, Plaza. I think that should be more than 2 miles inland. Yeah, that's more than 2 miles inland. So you should be good. Just get across Center Line to get to Plaza West. On the market, that's what it's called.
Project, where should you go?
Claudio Marco.
Okay.
Or
Thank
Center
you.
Line.
Thank you.
No problem. You ready? No, I didn't. Okay, Ms. Lily Alvarez from the Red Cross will be presenting on shelters, shelter presentations, and sheltering tips.
She was good. She deserved her applause.
Give her a round of
There you
applause.
go. So I'm Lily Alvarez from American Red Cross. I'm the disaster program manager. There are a few things that I wanted to mention because Ms. Regina and Director Jashin covered quite a bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth when it comes to preparedness, not just on sheltering, like Ms. Regina mentioned. So one of the things that we always tend to mention is to make a plan, be informed, right? Get a kit. So do we all have an emergency kit that we could grab and go? Uh-oh, somebody's shaking her head. She's like, she didn't get hers. So we need to be vigilant that we have disasters, right? Ms. Regina mentioned about announced disaster, hurricane. What about the unannounced? We need a bag to grab and go. So how many times I go have $1 for every time can I get a bag like yours? So my bag and your bag are different completely. So you need to do one for every member in the household that tweaks to you. Because your eyeglasses ain't the same as mine. Your medication are not the ones I don't use. Have your set of clothes, and there's a checklist that Vitima will provide with the basics of what to have in a go bag, right? One of the important things that I tend to stress a lot is who has an emergency plan when it comes to your original legal documents. Oh, I ain't seeing no hands. Your emergency, do you have plans for your documents, your birth certificate, your driver's license, the registration for your car? We all made copies, right? Oh, we got, one hand going up, yes? Now, you might have your documents in a safe. Hurricane come, house got wet and it's safe. So what we recommend are several things when it comes to documents. First of all, let's gather them together. So we have the registration for the vehicles. This is for each person, each vehicle in the house. So for me, I have birth certificate for me and the kids. We have registration for the vehicles, my driver's license. We have the deed for the property. We have all my documents. I put them all together. I made copies of every single one of them. I took the copy, I put it in a priority mail envelope, and I sent it to my son in Florida. So it's not as simple as putting a Ziploc. Can we go Ziploc it? And the Ziploc it could go floating. Now, do you know how hard it is to replace one of those originals? Because you need one to get the other. Unless you ain't got none. I have someone that walks with her originals in her backpack every day. If something happens to that backpack, so you know where I'm going with it, right? Please make a plan when it comes to your documents. Another thing is a communication plan. Do we have a communication plan? And what do I mean by that? We spoke about several hazards, right? So when it comes to hurricane, we know the power gonna go down. Kind of, sorta, right? So just with that, we might not have a dial tone after the hurricane. I don't have 10 dial tones to call 10 of my family members in the States. It might have one dial tone. So when we say make a plan when it comes to communication, make a plan that one family member or one friend in New Jersey gonna call the rest of them and let them know that I'm fine. That make sense? Oh. If you have a cell phone, there is an app called WhatsApp. You could do it in your regular phone, or you could do it in the WhatsApp where you do a group. And when you get that one tone to send one text, you're sending it to everybody understanding what you're saying at the same time. But we don't have 10 and 20 dial tones after a storm because we're anxious, we're frustrated, we stress, our nerves. Send the message out once, whether it's the one phone call or the one text, and that will work. Another thing when it comes to communication plan, for families that have children, there are many in the household. We spoke about hazards, but we didn't speak about home fire. I'm sorry to state that for the first time in I don't know how many years, maybe, I don't know, when this past week alone, there were 4 home fires. Electrical, candle, whatever the case may be, it took a whole lifetime to build that one house and in minutes for it to go. So the Red Cross recommends that you do a plan for those that are in the household. If there's a fire, we know prevent it. You know, if you're cooking, don't turn your back to the pot, you know, stuff like that. But when it comes to an exit plan of leaving the house, like the 2 siblings that were in the house, not this week, but in years prior, adults living in the house, there was a house fire. The young man left through the front door. He looks back, the sister is not there. They didn't have no communication if there's a fire. He went back in to look for his sister. He got slightly burned, but where was she? She left through the back. And she waiting in the backyard, and he waiting out in front. It's a simple communication, honey. If we get a fire, I'm going to be by Miss Maria across the street. Just have that simple conversation, because it was uncalled for that young man to walk in through the door to look for his sister. Especially when you have children. Especially if you have a go bag, that's when you grab your bag and get out. If you can. Because the first question to the radio, Miss Brown, how many minutes do you have to exit your house during a house fire? You have less than 2 minutes. you have less than 2 minutes to get out of that house. Have a communication.
What you say good too, yes, but it seems like if everybody, if you have a fire in the east part, okay, in the east part of their house, if you set up a plan where that, if you have fire in the east part, where you go in the west, you know exactly which window, which way you're gonna go through, right? But not to change to be going through the same way with the fire. You see what I'm saying? Everybody go towards it.
And that's where I go to what Vaitima said. Make a plan and
Yes,
practice it.
Yeah, the practice is it.
Because the fire is not always coming from the
What
kitchen.
you're trying to say, you come a different area.
Right.
So you know exactly you got an area on this side to escape and an area on the other side to escape. So they, you know, with the two head working together, you know, everybody gonna be going to the east or going to the west. I mean, it depends on where the fire starts and where you at.
Exactly. That's where communication
Communication.
comes in with those in the household and where
Yeah.
making a plan
Right,
and
yes.
practicing it. Yes, sir.
What I would say is missing in that plan, what's missing, yes, as Mr. Best is saying, you know, people may be in different part of the house, but we should have a meeting place outside the house. So let's say if I go out the window, then I want to meet you by this gate over here. This is the meeting place, is this
And-
gate. We all
yes.
gonna meet at this gate over here.
Yes.
So if the fire starts in the center of the living room, TV's there, it catches on fire, everybody's going out different windows and areas, then we have to have a meeting place where we all could meet to know, because like you say, somebody's missing. Your first thing is that they're in the house. They may be
Right.
on the other side of the house,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And then you're putting your life in jeopardy and the person is safe on the other side of the house. We should have a meeting place on the outside of the house, and this is where we're going to gather.
Right. So that's why I initially had mentioned when you have that communication with your household, if there's a house fire, make a plan. We're going to be across the street, or we're going to be by Miss Mary's house, or we're going to meet immediately on the other side. So it's having that clear communication, having a plan, and do practice it. If the fire is here, we're going to go out this way. If the fire is there, we're going to do this, right? So the other part of the communication is the seriousness that if there is an unannounced event, like tsunami, like earthquake, and they're small, and your household consists of small children, and those children are in school, because tsunami and earthquake is not gonna say, I'll wait for Mr. Best to be home. I'm gonna wait for Mr. Best over here to be reaching from work. And now walks up. And so if we have children, we have to communicate with them and have a plan with them. Because we could be grocery shopping and they could be in school. And so when they're in school, what is supposed to happen? There's a drill normally in schools, let's go out to the field. And then what happens after that? You need to have communication with children that they don't panic. Because they're going to want to go home to their guardian, to their family, to go home. And we as parents or grandparents will want to go and look, we're going to cross paths. What's going to happen? Have communication with children is very important to involve them and have them understand. Red Cross has a program that we go to schools and we go to summer camps. Just like Vaitima, we do that too. So if anyone that you know that goes to summer camp or what have you, you can give us a call. We'll go and have a chat with them. Do that as a group. When it comes to sheltering, shelters are in St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, Water Island. The bottom line is this. We have to have our own plan. That's one of the plans. Where are we going to shelter? So we could say we'll shelter at home. That's okay. Or we'll shelter to one of the shelters. But please know that the shelters that are available in St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John is not like your home and comfortable. It will keep you safe from harm. And that's what they're for. They're either evacuation shelter, and we'll have limited amount of cots. When it comes to a congregate shelter, to make it a little bit more comfortable, because it's going to be more than one day, there will be cots, blankets, comfort kits, there will be meals. The Red Cross roll for every single one of those shelters. Red Cross provides every single cot, every single blanket that's given, every single comfort kit, and we feed every client for the first 3 days until Department of Human Services and Department of Education kicks in to provide feeding. If we need to do that on the Red Cross, we add additional days to the feeding. We try to make it as comfortable as possible. But if you decide to shelter here or at home, pass on that communication to family to let them know what your plan is for sheltering. You can shelter at home, make the necessary preparations to shelter at home. If your home is all set and it was no leaks, nothing wrong with it in 2017, you have your documents down packed, you're all prepared with whatever groceries, you have your bleach, you have your water, you're all set. Talk to your neighbor. There might be an elderly down the road that is not as set as you. There might be someone in the church, an elder, or someone that has kids and unable to manage all of it and can use your help. So think about that. Any questions so far for me? Everybody kind of quiet. I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, digesting. Okay. Yes.
Good afternoon. I don't have a question. I have a suggestion. I remember either early this year or last year, Administrative Sanis, and I'm talking regarding saving your documents.
Yes.
He was talking about, and I think of it, it can work because children carry jump drives to school.
Yes.
Students carry their information to school, to UVI, wherever they carry it on a jump drive.
Right.
And one of the things that he said, and I think of it the same as is for anything, he was offering, and he was saying it for I like to use the word senders. And I say senders because they're seniors and they're elders. So I use it as a sender. He was saying that the senders would have the opportunity, because we misplace documents, you have them last minute, everything is lost, they get faded out. So what he was recommending is that, I would say everybody can take your documents to him. He would provide the jump drives, and they will have to where you can save every piece of document that you have, including your Social Security, birth certificate, immunization card, marriage license, all your any kind of document that you have, because we try to keep our documents, we fold them, they tear.
Yes.
You put them in places that if they get wet, you cannot read it. They get destroyed. Yeah. So he was suggesting that you can go to him. He will provide you with the jump drive. You bring any kind of document on paper that you need to be saved, and he will save them for you. The jump drive would also be something that, like you say, it can, the Ziploc will float away, but if you see it on a jump drive, it becomes something more closer to you as your wallet, as your phone.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good way that everybody could take advantage of, making sure that every time you go somewhere, like the lady who walks with her papers in her backpack all day, I have a jump drive in my bag all day. So I think that's a very good idea.
I want to thank you for reminding me. I was to mention that. Senator Sanes still has the program. I like the senders. I'm going to borrow that from you. Mr. Sanes still has the program. You can actually call his office. He needs you to make an appointment. And at that appointment, you bring all the necessary documents that you need to bring in, that you would like scanned. His office will scan it and will place your originals in a plastic envelope. It will be placed in a jump drive. So we've provided his office with those envelopes, and he has the jump drives from another donor. But you can take the jump drive, you can have it put in 2 jump drives, and you walk with one and send the other one off to someone that you trust off island. But I encourage you to make that plan. Normally we tend to make a plan a few days before the storm, right? But like Director said, it's time that we do the plan a few months before the storm. But the truth is, we can do it before the storm, but we have some radios to raffle off to give out, right? So one of the questions that I have is, who answers first? Have to raise their hand first. So what's one of the announced hazards that we spoke about that we came here to prepare for? Raise hand. So the first thing she said, she raised her hand and said tsunami. I said unannounced. She said tsunami. What about the hazard that is announced? He said hurricane, Miss Brown. Hurricane. So I think I have the answer, but Director going to confirm this for me. True or false, do we get tornadoes in the Virgin Islands? I don't need to that was a test. That was a test.
That's a test.
So we do have tornadoes inside of hurricanes. Yeah, so we do that. So we have any other question we can? Yes. So when water spouts come to land, they're tornadoes. Cool. Yes. Yeah. Several. Yeah. We saw that with Hugo, where the stop signs all twirled around, right? And the other one next to it destroyed. Yes. Yeah. 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 So Miss Regina spoke about having a certain elevation to go inland when it comes to we have to raise our hand. So what is that? What is that? What is the elevation? She said 2 miles. Does that count? Is how many? Is how high? Raise hand. How high? What's the elevation? Give me a number.
Yeah, give
How many feet?
how many feet? Yeah.
No.
Raise your hand if you know that.
You know? It's 80. It's 80. It's 80.
I'm your son, and I have to be honest.
80 feet.
No, you're almost there, but you're not quite. So, who has a different answer than 80? Yeah, that's what you mentioned, 80?
Yeah.
Just to be correct. 80?
What year is it?
You say 80? You say 80, okay. The lady is there. I forgot your name again. Carmen, yes. Carmen is one to.
Carmen, what you think is the elevation? 200. No.
No. Your
So Mr. Best said, and I need hands up first. Mr. Best said he's not allowed to raise his hand. Mr. Best said that it's 80 feet. So who thinks that it is 80 feet is true? Miss Giggles over here, I don't know about she. But we're going to do this as an example. It is actually 80 feet. Okay? It's 82.
Ooh, yeah. 82. 82.
You move up 2 more and we go to it's actually 82. Okay, with hands raised, I need exact dates. What is the date of the beginning of hurricane season? Mr. Best, you're going to have to go out that door for me or no? June 1st. Now I need, when is the last day?
Okay.
Raise hand.
The last day.
Raise hand. Last day of hurricane season. Mr. Best, who raised their hand first?
In that box, I cannot confirm. Everybody raise. Okay. It sounds like the gentleman. How much more we have?
So, what is the last day I heard? The November 30th.
Wow.
With him. No. In stripes. There. Okay. There you go. We have 4.
Okay. All right.
So we heard that the tsunami sirens are tested. I need hands. Mr. Best, please take a look. You're not allowed to see here, right? Not here. Can somebody tell me when are the sirens tested? This is each month at the same, I need hands. I need hands. I need hand up.
Okay, if you have won a gift before, excuse me, if you have won a gift before, we're going to keep your hand down. Let's put it down. All right? That's reasonable? Okay.
It's either the back or in black. I'm sorry? The 3rd Thursday of every other month? Of every month.
Now we get 3 more? We get 3 more gifts. So if you have one, don't raise a hand. Raise a hand if you know. Don't vote it out. No, it was off by 2.
So Vitima puts out information through the phone system they mentioned. Does anyone remember the name of that mass messaging system? Hand.
Your hand up or
What is the name of that mass messaging system? And I don't need to have it on your phone. They can help you with it when you go outside.
it could be given by email. It can also be given by phone.
Her hand is up. Vitima alert? No. Somebody want to try again?
Somebody want to try? You remember it?
That's a stamper. No. Go ahead. I need a hand.
Okay, I done.
When what?
No, this one in the back.
She aggressive.
She is fast.
What?
Yeah.
1867 in the back.
You got it. Yeah, she don't.
And I'm glad that they put up that slide
Yes.
of the gentleman that was able to compare then to now. Because the understanding that I had is only 30 to 50 people died during that tsunami because most of the people worked inland. If that was to happen now, God forbid, right? So one more question, two more questions. You're too aggressive. So when there's a tsunami, so when there's a tsunami warning, what time frame do you have to go inland? Mr. Best. Mr. Best.
All right.
What's the answer? 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
All right, 10 minutes.
And then for the last question, you had Vitima, Red Cross. So yeah, okay, yeah. So the last question, she want to make it really hard on you. So she said, those that got radios, please leave your hands down. Okay? Okay, Mr. Best? Okay. So the question is, can somebody tell me what Vitima stands for? Can anyone tell me what Vitima stands for?
You guys got hold on a second. To be fair, you guys have a radio and you guys can share. Yes or no? Okay. I want to be fair with everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Lana, I saw your hand up. Are you able to answer or you want to move? No, she did not. All right.
Miss Dawn, you need a microphone. I don't hear well on Sunday afternoons. Okay.
Yeah, but it's more letters and acronyms, so you have
So
to
it's
go
VITEMA. Can somebody tell me what it stands for? Try again. Nope.
Okay.
No.
All right, okay.
She was close, but no. You want to give it a try? Okay. You want to try?
You want to try? Okay. Anybody else?
So VI is Virgin Islands, right? Virgin Islands. So the VI is a territory.
Okay. Hold on, guys. So, Said, I need, okay, let's raise your hand if you fully know the whole acronym. No, don't raise your hand if you have a gift already. Raise your hand if you didn't have a radio given to you and give us the full acronym.
So
meaning.
VI.
We have VI already.
Come,
We don't wanna give you-
I almost give you the answer.
No.
No.
Okay,
Yes,
hold
sir.
on.
Hold on. Yes, sir. You were close.
You're
You
close.
were very
You're
close.
Hold on. You're close. You were very close. Okay.
Take that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You were close,
So
you were very
the
close.
radios, I'll have Director Jashin speak about it, but it's one of those things that we also promote as Red Crossers. If you all look at the radios, you will notice that it has a solar panel on it, right? And one of my lessons learned, very hard lesson that I learned in 2017, is to take advantage of what we have most. And we have sun. And we have a lot of it after a disaster. It gets very hot, it gets very sunny. And there's no reason why, in part of our preparedness, to include in it solar lighting. I don't have to crank it, I don't have to just put it in the sun, and it works. Solar light, solar chargers, solar radios, solar flashlights, they have them. Part of making a plan every month, get yourself something. It works. I have one light, they're made for the garden, charge it outside, when they ain't gonna walk at night, bring it inside the house. It works. So little bit by little bit, we all get there. There's more information regarding Red Cross. Regarding the home fire campaign, we do installation of smoke detectors free of charge for the past 8 years. If you know anyone that needs smoke detectors, just give us a call. We'll go and install them for you at no cost. So please give us a call, and also you're welcome also to volunteer with us. We always can use volunteers in the VI. We have approximately 150 volunteers, 4 staff members. We make the work happen.
Before you do anything, she has a question.
Yeah. Last hurricane we had, it happened, I left with my family because we live inside the rainforest, but in LaGrange. So I left with my family. I have young grandchildren, so we went to the church. So we didn't get to our home until after a few days. When I get home, I was okay, but my neighbor's roof was problem, blowing away. She wasn't home. She was in the States. She has to go see doctors. So I try to get tarpaulin for us to go put over in her house, and we didn't get nothing. They didn't even want to look at me when I come. I stand on line after line trying to get tarpaulin to help my neighbor to put up until she get here. How can I go about it if it's a next time?
As an agency, we don't have tarps. That was another lesson that I learned. And at my home, I have made it a point to purchase tarps because this ain't going to happen to me. So as part of the planning, I suggest their hardware stores, they do sell tarps, because I can only imagine how many days after you try to get tarps, in the meantime, it's getting wet, right? So it's part of the planning stage. But as for Red Cross, we don't have tarps per se to give out. It's kind of something that you would have to get on your own, and I encourage everybody, doesn't matter whether you did have roof, didn't have roof, believe me, tarps go a long way, right? Director?
It wasn't for me, this was my neighbor. It wasn't here on island, so I was just seeking help. So we would help her until she get here, and we was turned away. We tried, I tried, and I did, didn't.
All right, so here's the official answer. Part of ITEMA, part of giving out the food and water to what's called points of distribution, you can also have tarps there. The tarps, however, come from FEMA, and it comes after a declaration has to be done. So there's also what's called the STEP program, which you have to have someone come out from FEMA and assess the house. And if it's not your house, they may say, well, we can't help you. Okay. That's the problem. Yes.
My neighbor diagnosed with cancer. She live alone.
Mhm.
She left to go away. We didn't know what
Yeah.
happened in hurricane.
Yeah.
So it was just me coming
you have a wonderful heart, which is great. The challenge is if she came back and said, oh, that's not, and complained, or said otherwise, and you have to get sort of a proxy or authority from her written to show to FEMA. Some lessons learned. But by FEMA, when we do points of distribution for water and food and tarps, we don't ask for your name. We don't ask for who it's for. It's free to sell. So that's the next step is as you go through the points of distribution, it's not the 100-foot long tarp. It's going to be like a 20 by 20 tarp, 3 or 4 of those, okay? So that's a great lesson learned and to share the communities. If you're going to be leaving in storms, try to get what they call a special power of attorney that gives, in case of emergencies, I authorize so-and-so to help prepare legally. That you have legal, but it's not general. General means you can sell their house or a car. No, special would be specifically why she's gone. They authorizes you to be authority for that. That's called special power of attorney. All right, before I turn over to Ronaldo, first of all, please give Lily a great hand. You did a fantastic job, Lily. All right, all the winners of the radios, I want to give you a couple of tips besides the solar, which is a great tip. You have AM and FM, right? Everybody knows in their car radio, AM and FM. But you also have, if you look closely, something called WB, and there's like 6 of those. And it's called, and WB stands for weather band. So these are called NOAA weather radios. So about a year and a half, NOAA and National Weather Service and Puerto Rico got together. They put a tower up in St. Thomas that broadcasts a repeater on St. Croix, St. Thomas, and it sends out the weather updates 24 hours a day. The weather band you want is the 3rd one. It's 162.45 if you have a radio. But your car does not go 162.45. So you have that. The antenna has to be up, and most likely you have to be outdoors or you have to be higher up so you can get that. It goes in English and Spanish 24 hours a day. And it talks and it'll update. And it'll be repeating also. It'll repeat and it'll come back to the noise. So it's constantly going. There's also a button in there in the center and on top of it that says alert. So even though you have it on, if you hit alert, it'll go quiet, but it's still on. So it means the National Weather Service puts out an alert message like a tropical storm or hurricane warning or watch. That will go off, will let you know, and again, English and Spanish, the alert. So if you have it, charged up, if a storm's coming up, you can put it up and listen to it, and you won't have to have a constant noise going. You push the alert button, it only will come up as alert. So when we do our tests, like in March, for Caribwave, we'll work with also National Weather Service in Puerto Rico. They'll put the alert message out, and also for the Great Shakeout to make sure we test it. And they actually put a test message out, I think, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. But that's a special radio besides, you can hand crank it besides the solar, USB charge it, but it's also good for that weather band, which gives you the 24-hour weather for it. It's a fantastic one to have. So great. Ronaldo?
Thank you so much, Director Darrell Jackson. And we also thank Regina Brown, and we also thank Lily Alvarez for this pertinent information being given to us today. Give them a round of applause all together. Again, I was hoping to see more faces because I went door to door. I did not just leave it at your gate in my neighborhood. I went door to door and I actually call out and speak to one. Yeah, I spoke to individuals, and apparently they probably had some situation in their lives. Yes, that is one of them, and this is my dad, which live in my area, and I also have Chanel in the back. And my area has a lot of retirees, so unfortunately they may not be down there. It's just circumstances led them not to be here. But I'm glad that I'm seeing your faces here to get that information given to you. I do represent, and myself and Director Darrell Jackson, he also wears many hats. We are actually amateur radio operators. which provides communications as far as emergency communication. Just want to touch on something quickly here before we go to the back so you can see all your brochures and your bags from either American Red Cross or Vitima. What's coming up on June 24th and 25th, we have a field day. Instead of being at my home where I have my personal station, you guys heard about the CB radio, when you get on the radio and you speak to somebody and you say over, or you say Roger, Roger. Okay, that's what we are. We basically has a license from the SCC, which is the Federal Communication Commission, which provides us our license through an organization, a non-profit organization named AWRL, which is Amateur Radio Relay League. They're the one that sponsors us to get our license to go on the air. What we do as a territory, we have probably about I would say about 100 so operators plus more that we are not aware of, and they see the seriousness of having communication. And one of the communication point that we always hold on to is cell phone, because that's the easiest thing you could pick up and start to talk. But when the cell phone tower goes down and landline goes down and there's no communication, internet goes down, then what you have? You have nothing to communicate. I can remember one story I want to tell quickly and fast, is that there's an operator after the storm of Hurricane Hugo. A lot of you guys remember that storm there. There's one operator was at Paquito's restaurant, and because communication went down, it was very difficult to get information out. So he was basically sitting there, have all his equipment, which is run by only 12 volts. 12 volts, not 120 AC volts, but 112 volt DC. So he was basically operating, and people come to him and say, well, send this message to my loved one. And how they send the message is that he get on the radio, he contact somebody in the States, give them the phone number, tell them call this individual and tell them your loved ones are safe. So while he was operating, guess what? The Pentagon called in and said, can I get in contact with our former governor then? You know what he said? He turned to her and said, go to the closest law enforcement authority that you can get and tell them boots will be on the ground by tomorrow. When he did that, he found Officer Kike Santos. If you guys know him, he's very well known. When he got him and he let a message being said to him, he relayed a message to him, and whoever Kike said it to, the boots being on the ground. Just because of a amateur radio operator being in connection between the government and the community. So what we have here is a field day. We go back to the first slide. We have a field day where we move from our home and we go out to the field and we do like an outreach. We let people know who we are and what we're about as far as communication. So we'll be holding it this year at Red Cross, which is Saturday the 24th, and it runs 24 hours into Sunday the 25th. So it's not just staying out there and just making contacts. Because we are making contact. It's a worldwide event. Now it's actually produced by the U.S. However, it's a worldwide event, so there will be everybody from Japan, around the whole world will basically be online communicating, and it's just a contact information. We do have call signs that we have to exchange, and a call sign is a particular identification ID that you have to share over the air. And once you provide that information, then you make the contact, then you log it, and it becomes something that you can valuably give into AWRL as points. However, the purpose of it is to practice communication for any type of preparedness. Because if landline goes down, everything goes down, ham radio operators will be there and ready to be able to serve with communication, which we have done in the past by providing communication to our local emergency management agency, which is Vitima. You have a question? Well, yes. We don't eat ham every day, but yes, it's called ham radio. Ham radio. Yes. You see? So, yes. Yes, that will be the alternate name, ham radio. Of course, we're having it basically at Red Cross, June 24th, 25th. I'm just encourage everyone else to come out and get pertinent information about communication, because anyone from, there's no age limit, there's no age criteria. Anyone in here can actually become an amateur radio operator. You may not be in the task of being the emergency provider. It can be simply your personal use to get out there to get your information out. So loved ones out there can actually hear from you and to notify them that you are safe and sound on the island. One time, yeah.
Our outreach event specifically is going to be on Saturday,
Yes.
Saturday 24th from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We'll have individuals there. We'll have antennas set up. And we want to show and tell so you can see what's going on. Also, if you want to apply to be a licensed operator, we'll walk you through the process to do that. There's no age limit. You can be a young person, old person. We work through all of the ages to get to know how to use it. And it's also a hobby. Some people do emergency management. Some people just build antennas and build radios because they like doing that. So we look all individuals, but Saturday the 24th from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, American Red Cross.
Yes, certainly. This slide here, just to touch on this slide here, you just had it there. If you can bring it back to me. We just did an outreach at Youth Stepping Up in Christiansted, which is under Pastor Samuel Branigan. And this is when we had a 2-day session, and the last session we actually took the kids in and put them on air so they can speak to other operators within our territory. We also have a VI weather net every morning at 7 o'clock, sharing pertinent information about weather throughout the territory, not just St. Christ only. We're all connected. And we have information from St. Thomas and St. John. BVI stations also connects with us too. Puerto Rico stations also connects to us on radio. So if I know that the rain is falling real hard in St. Thomas, I will be able to hear that information from an actual person that literally is getting the rain, because they're sharing out that information as quick as fast as possible to alert us what's going on these different islands. So yes, the 24th and the 25th, I hope to see you guys there. If you guys have any questions, I will certainly try to answer. If not, we're going back outside. We're going out to the back so we can share more information. We don't have, the office is actually right here as I speak. Like we call this a station because I can actually be the operator with the license. This is the radio right here. This is my station, so this is considered to be my office. So if you do have a question, I'm certainly here to answer you. If you can go to the slide that has the test on it, just to quickly show her, there's just a test that you got to take. It's 35 questions. It's a breakdown that we do have on a slide that provides that information. But if you can't get it, that's fine. We do have a test to take. Yes, look at there. It's 11 questions, which is the FCC rules and license duties. 10 questions, methods, radio, operating, and basic electronics. There's 8 questions, engineering practice and special operation. There's also 6 questions, which is electrical, antenna, and RF safety. And of course, the test is given locally by volunteers, which is myself, and I think Darrell, you're one of them too. So you could always ask for that test to be granted to you, and we will definitely find a means and a place to provide that test to you. Passing grade is 74%. Of course, 29 out of 35 will give you that amount. Okay. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful world that I never had before, but because I found greatness in these type of people, Director Darrell Joshins and others, as far as amateur radio operators, and we do have a heart for our community. Again, it's a hobby. It can be considered as emergency communication. It can be considered what you want to do with it. It's totally up to you. But no further ado, I don't know if anyone has any questions or concerns or want to make a statement before we move ahead. Okay. Again. That would not be up my field to provide transportation. So I'll be honest with you. I don't know if anyone can answer that question, because you do have a question. And okay. Yeah. All right, guys. So again, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for coming out, and we'll meet to the back and we'll basically finalize everything in the back. Thank you guys again for coming out.